So, guys, welcome to Pull the Pin. It's the Grenade podcast where we've got business, brand, and banter, guaranteed, wall-to-wall wisdom with me, yours truly. Carl's laughing already, but he knows what's coming. With me, Alan Barratt, co-founder and CEO of Grenade, and this is our first ever live podcast at the Grenade Orange Friday event. So today we've got a celebrity PT. He's a yogi. He's got so many tattoos. I don't know whether to talk to him or read him. It's only Tyrone Brennand.
Yes.
Tyrone, welcome. Thank you. Okay, and then we've also got Karl Lokko, who was I hope you don't mind me saying, a former gang leader in London. He's now an influencer. He's an ambassador for big change, adventurer. Also, still special advisor to Prince Harry. Okay, hell of a change. And rumor has it, welcome, Karl.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay. So just so we get up on the right foot now, today we're talking about pulling the pin on failure, and if at first you don't succeed. So. Got two monstrous failures right in front of me. But before we actually get started, guys, so I've got to start with this, Karl. Now, you were a former London gang leader, okay?
Yeah, correct.
Now, is it true? Rumour has it.
I know what's coming.
You don't know what's coming. You don't know what's coming. Is it going to be your feet?
It is my
It is
feet.
your feet, yeah. So,
Yeah.
rumour has it. Is it true? Is it true that you've gone from being a former gang leader in London, in one of the roughest parts of London, to now being injured by having a pedicure?
Yeah, very true. I do.
Is that true?
Very true.
Do you wish you hadn't told me that yesterday?
I mean, I'm on antibiotics currently because they
I'll tell you
ticked
what.
me and, yeah.
Pedicures are dangerous things.
I survived
Dangerous
all of
things.
that, and then the pedi got me.
Yeah. Let that be a lesson to anyone who's thinking about having a pedicure. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's asking for trouble. So, guys, welcome. Okay, so as I said, we've got business, brand, and banter. So, but we've got some great topics actually to get through here. So, we'll just let you guys introduce yourselves first. So, Tyrone, do you want to go first and tell us a bit about yourself?
So my name's Tyrone Brennand, and I've got a personal training business called Be the Fittest, which I started in 2014, and I went through the Prince's Trust, which is a charity that helps young people that gone through tough times to help start their own business, but it also help people find jobs and stuff. So I went through an enterprise program, which is a program that helps people start their own business. So I went through them, started my business, and basically just kind of like winged it all the way through till now.
I know what that feels
I'm
like.
here right now on this podcast, but
The pinnacle here with, dare I say it, me, but also with the big man, with Karl. So, Karl, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah. So the pink elephant in the room was that I was an ex-gang leader.
Okay.
But we can all see that now. And yeah, so I was very fortunate to be able to turn my life around. But then after I did that, I was left with a kind of a blank slate. It was clean. It was like, what do I do now? So then I thought, you know what? I don't want to kind of go into the conveyor belt that's been set for me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try and create my own vacancy, not look for job vacancies.
Okay.
So I'm like, I am Karl, and I have something specifically I can offer the world. So I said,
what is that? No, sorry. I'm sure he does. Yeah, I'm sure he does.
I said, you know what, I want.
We'll try and find it.
Me, here we go. I want to offer me, and I ended up just doing that, and eventually it just led to climbing mountains with the Bransons, to advising Prince Harry, to working with Martin Luther King in Atlanta, to activism in Australia. It's just taken me everywhere.
Okay. I mean, I've got you've blasted from literally from gang leader to walking with the Bransons and Prince Harry, and there's I'm just really interested in trying to find out overcoming challenges, learning from mistakes and failures. But so just start with you then, Karl. So just tell us a little bit about, don't be too specific, it's up to you, but just being a gang leader in London, I mean, from what age, how'd you get into that? How'd you get out of that?
Yeah, so I grew up in Mitesfield Estate, which was actually nicknamed by the local press as the Devil's Den. Mm-hmm. So one article actually said Lucifer himself is afraid to walk through there, and the borough commander gave explicit instructions to all of these kind of foot patrol to not walk through Mitesfield. They must be either in a car or armed,
Was that because of you? Yeah.
Not yet. So around that time, actually, I was playing ball games where it says no ball games allowed, and then
That is
crime,
dangerous.
yeah?
That's real serious shit right there.
So I was doing that, and as that was happening, actually, about 20 meters from me, someone actually filled someone else with lead, discharged a firearm at him, and then the car actually that they were in crashed into a pole, and 2 of the wheels was in the air. And then the shooter that actually discharged the firearm ran back to where me and my friends were playing footy, took off his jumper, put it on one of our makeshift goalposts, took a brick from the wall, put the gun behind the where the brick was, put the brick back, and then told us to pass him the ball. So we had to play footy with him until the police came and left.
And how old were you when that happened, and when was that?
I was 12 years old, and it took about maybe 30 minutes for the police to get there, and then he told the police the guy went that way, and we all kind of pointed that way too, and that was my introduction to where we were at, yeah.
And I guess at that point, you kind of, you're sucked in because you saw something, they know you saw something, and is that kind of how it works?
You know what? It was less about the consequence of me seeing that and his actions, and more just the effect of seeing that. I was traumatized. I didn't realize that, I expected to only see footballs being shot.
Yeah.
12 years old, we were playing a little bit, kick around with my mates, and then to see someone actually being shot so close, and yeah, it just traumatized me. It stained us all.
Okay, I bet.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just incredible. I don't know how you cope with that at that age. I mean, Tyrone, anything what are your thoughts on that? Anything you've had from your childhood? Because again, you're London born as well.
Yeah, London born as well. And growing up, it was a bit different because I grew up and I moved around different parts of Southwest, West London. But the thing is where I went to school, it was like a standard school. It wasn't super bad, but you had good people and kind of bad people. But when I came out of school, it was the surroundings and the environment that kind of took me in. And growing up in London is hard because me not having a dad figure around to kind of ground me and tell me what's right or wrong. And my mum kind of left when I was 16. I was kind of left to my own devices. And the people that I used to look up to were these people in my environment. So the people that my role models would be people that were, that would have the nice cars, that would have, all the girls, that would have the nice jewelry and stuff like that. And you see how they were making money, or you see how, they were conducting their own business and, behaving, and you used to look up to that. So that was for me, the types of things that my friends we used to look up to and we used to try and portray. And then you end up getting sucked in. And it's tough to get out of because there was no one there to help guide you, to tell you what's right or wrong. I had no inspirational figures. I had my parents weren't there. And the thing is, when I was younger, I didn't want to listen to anyone. I would just want to listen to my friends.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have fun, listen to my friends, and be cool. There was a lot of, at the time, there was a lot of kind of, trying to step up to the plate of being the main man and trying to be, the best person that you could be. And through any means necessary.
And I guess both of you could almost end up stuck in this perpetual doom loop of you fall into that way of life. And then how do you get out of it? I mean, how did you get out of it?
Yeah, it's tough because the only ones you see with financial freedom in your midst is literally those that are doing it illegitimately. So only the criminals in the area could drive German cars, wear Italian clothes, and go to sunny destinations, Everyone else was kind of stuck working a 9 to 5, and you were considered rich in my community if you made over 25K a year, and it was just kind of bleak. And then not just that, but you would go to school where some of the teachers actually, they're kind of worn out in a certain way, and then they would respond to you sometimes in a negative way because of the fatigue, I would say, mainly. And then even they're not saying kind of inspirational things to you. And you're kind of being told that if you really work hard, you can kind of be like your parents. And I'm my mother works 14-hour days, comes home with cardiac arrest in her eyes and hardly makes ends meet.
Yeah.
So
you don't want to be like that.
Be like that, So that loop and that was the reality. And I couldn't actually find inspiration in my community. It weren't there, so I had to start looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then I got that contact through books.
Okay.
I became like a autodidact. I just began to read a book a week.
Okay.
You know, and
who encouraged you to do that?
I mean, it was necessity for me. I mean, I was in a place where if I described one of my closest friends was murdered by my side a day before my GCSE exams. Another one of my best friends was shot twice in the head 2 years after that. Another young man that lived with me at my mum's house for 4 years. He was then murdered the following year after that. I mean, the theme is murder and incarceration. You know, so when you're in that environment, like for me, that was oxygen, was to read those books and to plug into those podcasts. And I fell in love with the whole kind of TED Talk movement, and I would watch one a day.
Yeah.
And I just tried to bring some level of control because I did feel powerless.
Yeah, okay.
You know? So,
and what was school like for you guys? I mean, I for entirely different reasons, I hated school.
Okay.
I found it quite boring, and I certainly didn't want to, since I left or dropped out of school, I've just carried on just learning things I want to learn. And I know we've spoken about the education system in the UK. We think it's probably fairly broken, useless anyway. But what was school like for you, Tom?
Like for me, you know, my mum tried to put me in like the best school that she could, and like I said, I went to all right school. It wasn't the worst school. It wasn't the best school, but it was a good school.
But did you enjoy it? Did you feel you got anything out of it? Or?
The thing is, I remember you know, the one thing I did learn was like they were very disciplined in there, but like it made me rebel. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it was so disciplined, it made me rebel. And I remember the teachers, they didn't really have like much faith. There was one teacher that me and my friends, we joke about, that he says to me, I'm going to have the last laugh with you. Yeah, you're going to be a failure. I'm going to have the last laugh. And I remember these words he told me. And at that time, I was young, and I was like...
And the teacher said that to you?
Yeah, the teacher said that to me. He said, you're going to be a failure. I'm going to have the last laugh.
And how did you feel when someone said that? Did that actually set something...
No, when he said that to me, I didn't take him serious. I was like, you're an idiot. Like, you know, shut up. Like, you know, and, you know, we used to just take the piss out of it. And I would love right now for me to go back to the school and see this teacher and show him,
beat him up.
Show.
Oh,
I was gonna say something a little bit, you know, but I'm trying to keep this PG. But yeah, just show him what's what and show him.
Go with Karl. He's massive.
Karl, we're rolling. Yeah. But school, you know, like, you know, for me, it just showed me about the discipline and you know, but it made me rebel after, like, because.
And rebel in what way?
In the way that I didn't want, like, I had enough of people telling me what to do. It was crazy. Like, we used to be in a school where if we were in a playground, like you couldn't like run around. If you got caught running around, they would try and discipline you and tell you to, you know, like go to some teacher's office or something like that.
Was this school or prison?
That's what I'm saying. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And it was a Catholic school, so I went to, and the Catholic schools are quite strict.
Okay.
So I went to this school, but you know, it made me rebel after, and you know, I think things have changed now. But yeah, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't for me, because as soon as I finished school, I went to college, and college has so much freedom. I was like, I didn't go to class. I didn't want to, you know, do anything. It was like there was too much freedom, so I was just rebelling. Like the teachers would tell me, so I was rude to the teachers. I just didn't care. I ended up dropping out.
I hated teachers, to be fair. I was rude to teachers as well.
I actually kind of enjoyed school.
Really?
Yeah. Oddly enough, I was diagnosed a child genius when I was 10 years old, actually.
I'm trying not to look surprised.
Yeah. So I did my year 9 SATs in year 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
and I got level 6s, which is what you got in the extension paper if you did it in year 9.
Okay.
You know, so it was a bit of a song and a dance. It was a kind of like you can be what you want to be, do what you want to do. And my parents believed in meritocracy at the time. You know, so they were like, flipping heck, we've got one, we've cracked it. You know, just the reason why we came to this country. You know, so anyway, they would look at me like a meal ticket. I felt that pressure. But the British schooling system is one, if they give you information and you can regurgitate it, you're clever.
You're clever, yeah.
And I mean, my regurgitation was unreal. I can tell you dates, times, sentences. So they all kind of like celebrated me, which gave me a level of confidence, I must say. However, where I feel this school system failed me quite dramatically is when my friend was murdered the day before my GCSE exams. I was in the top set for every class, even though I was still involved in certain things.
Yeah.
They knew I was intelligent. However, I only got 4 GCSEs because I was just writing my friend's name on all of the questions. You know, I couldn't focus. The only one.
And there was no dispensation for that. You couldn't. It's just that was tough. It was just
I
okay.
mean, none. They were just like, they actually had a word with me and said, listen, where you're from, what's going on, how it is, you can't, just do your exams. And they literally sent me into the exam hall with like tears in my eyes, and I'm just doing my exam, you know. That's
Unbelievable.
where they really failed me, I would say.
Okay, no, definitely. I mean, two very different. I mean, two difficult starts in life, very different circumstances, but difficult. And then, do you think? Because the thing I always say a lot with failure is your friend. So we love failure, but it's quick failure is where you learn. So I always kind of feel a bit. I kind of worry for people that probably haven't experienced failure, because you're going to experience it at some point, and I think it's better when you're young because you've got time to recover. Because if you're kind of shielded from that as it goes throughout your life, it's going to get those mistakes, so your failure is harder to overcome when you've got less time to recover from it. But where you guys have had these difficult starts, do you think that was instrumental in getting you both to where you are today?
For me, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. For me, like I didn't really. There was a point in my life where after I finished college and I had all that freedom from the school, and I ended up rebelling and looking up to those role models. I ended up like surrounding myself with individuals that were into crime, were into that street life, and then I ended up getting into a deep hole myself, in positions where I got myself into a lot of trouble, in like sticky situations where literally I felt like I had no hope, and I was in a place where there was no out. And the worst thing at that time, I just remember I didn't care. That's the thing, I didn't care. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about my family. I didn't care about me. There was no
You felt you got nothing to lose.
I had nothing to lose, and that was a scary thing. And I done things that were crazy, that I'm not even happy to even speak about right now. But basically, it got to the point where I was in that position that I said to myself, and I remember I was talking to this guy, and this guy was like a gangster. He was, moving a lot of drugs, 25 tons of cocaine. And I remember I was talking to him, and he said to me, Ty, do you know what? You've got brain. You're not stupid. Yeah. The only reason why he does all of this kind of stuff is because that's the only thing he knows how to do. He says, go out there and don't be afraid to work. Don't be afraid to learn. And I remember just listening to him, and I said, I wanna change. But I still didn't change for a couple years after that, until I found out that I was gonna have my first kid. And I said to myself, do you know what? I really need to fix my life. God spoke to me in many ways, telling me, do you know what? Gave me chance after chance after chance. And I used to say to myself, how many chances do I have? Soon these chances, Cat's only got 9 lives. How many chances do I have until something goes seriously wrong? So I was lucky enough to be strong enough to change my life, and that's what basically was that failure time there for me to flip things around.
And when did you find fitness? At what point did fitness?
So throughout my whole life, I always used to train. I remember, when I was young, I was infatuated with just looking at magazine covers, martial arts covers like Bruce Lee and all of that, and I used to be like, wow, that body's crazy. He's got the eyes like me, let me try and be like him, let me make these movies. I used to watch the films, and then, but I was super skinny. If I show you some pictures, honestly, I was super, super skinny. So when I was 15, I started doing weights in the gym and trying to, just do press-ups and stuff like that. And throughout that time, I just carried on training, and me and my friends, we used to, just meet up, and we used to just train. And that used to be kind of my out to forget about all the other issues and stuff, and just have fun. And we used to just train, do a set, talk, and tell stories and have fun. And that was it for me. And then I just loved it from there.
And where was training then? Because I guess, had you got any money to go to a gym? Were there any gyms?
So what my friends used to do, they used to buy in Argos. Yeah, you could buy a bench for £25. Yeah. So they bought the bench with the home weights, and we used to go to their house, and we used to just bang the plastic. Those plastic the weights,
Yeah.
the plastic weights filled with like sand,
and
or whatever.
so-
Yeah, so we used to go there and we used to train.
And the weights were massive, so like a 5 kilo weight would be like the size of a dustbin lid.
That's it. I used to feel big.
You could only
I was
you-
banging out like 10 kg, but I felt like I was hitting like 100.
I love those days when weights were massive because it makes you used to look strong.
Yeah, that's it.
But isn't it funny? So like when I was 15, I was bored at school and I discovered training because I always wanted to just do something different. I didn't want to ever do anything other people were doing. So I persuaded my parents to buy me that York Argos set from Argos.
You know the one,
the weights, because before that, and they wouldn't buy me the weights. They didn't think I'd stick to it. So when I was skinny as well. I was just under 11 stone. I'm like 6 feet tall. So they used to call me Big Al at school because I was kind of skinny. So I'll show you Big Al. So but yeah, I used to do everything for free. So my parents have got no money. So I do push-ups and I get like boxes of marbles and try and like make a bench out of it and I think when they saw me like for month after month after month trying to train and trying to make like a bench off the edge of the sofa and that, they said, actually, okay, we're gonna sort of buy you some weights. And I remember actually going to, I think it was Macro actually, not Argos, but it was like your barbell set and buying the weights, and then that was it. And when I was 14 years old, and then went to a gym when I was 15 on work experience, and they kind of felt sorry for me, and I never left. But I mean, Karl, obviously, what you do in terms of now this adventuring, I know fitness is important to you as well. But at what stage did you find fitness in, from an early age?
It's a very similar setup.
Yeah.
PE, I miss PE all the time because I would rather not bring my uniform in for PE, my kit, sorry, and then use the time to write lyrics at the time. And I was heavy into kind of rap music and the rest of it, so I just enjoyed that. That was my exercise lyrically. And then when I got to about, I would say about 18, when I wanted to start denouncing gangsterism, I realized the more I left gangsterism, the more I got bigger. It was weird. Almost on a subconscious level. I started to literally do more weights. And I think maybe it was to feel safer. I'm not too sure what was going on, but we did order the York setup. We had that. And eventually we went from the stone kind of 5 kgs to the Olympic bar and then the metal plates. And we were just going for it. And I mean, every day, just in the garden,
Do you know what's
hitting it.
Bro, do you know what's crazy? I remember the first time. So I was used to training with the Argos York bar.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time we used to go to the gym. And the gym, what we had to do, one of my friends was a member, he used to go up, swipe in, and he used to throw the card down, and we used to try and go up, and we used to all get in there, like one by one. We had to wait 5 minutes each time. And
I love it.
We used to go up to the gym, right? And I remember the first time hitting that Olympic bar, it was different feeling. That York bar doesn't represent that Olympic bar. So I remember, I was like, I had the 2.5s, and that was the equivalent of what I was banging in the Argos one, but I had the big plates in the Argos one. The little 2.5s with the Olympic bar, I was like struggling. It was crazy.
And the bar's really thick as well, isn't it? And you walk in thinking, I'm pretty strong, I know what I'm doing at home, and actually realise you're really weak.
It wasn't happening.
I was really, like I said, I was 15 in the gym, and they called me Big Al as well. But I've had the name for 30 years. But isn't it amazing how something as simple, with what you've both described as well, and where you come from, and there's just no opportunities, but something as simple as a bench and a few weights can actually give you something to do, give you some challenges, do something you can kind of be with your friends and socialise and actually enjoy it and kind of do something constructive
100%.
together. I think like weight training for me, it was almost like, it almost felt like a shield of armour.
Yeah.
And as I kind of got bigger and more into it and pushing myself, and it was nice. It was a solo thing. None of my friends were doing it. It was kind of unheard of. This was like 30 years ago. So for me, it was just something that was just really important to me. And I learned a lot of discipline from that, discipline of doing it. Also, just things like putting the weights away because I'd try and set up the bench like in the kitchen or something, so I couldn't leave it there. So just something as simple as putting it all out, putting all the weights away afterwards, and again doing it consistently because it's very hard slog, isn't it? It's really hard to do. And I think for me that kind of set my love of fitness for the rest of my life. I'll always train. My training will change. Like your training has changed, I'm sure, but for me, I thought actually that'll just really set me up for life for that discipline. I can't ever imagine not doing it.
Yeah, you're right, 100%.
So, I mean, Ty, you get into your fitness, and then at what point do you think you want to be PT and you want to?
So, yeah, I mean, do you know, when I was, at that time when I was training, it's crazy, I didn't even want to be in fitness. I I was too much involved in wanting to aspire to those people that were in the streets, and I didn't ever look to be a trainer or be into fitness. It was just something that I loved to do. And it was at the point where I remember I was just contemplating, saying, I don't want to live this life anymore. I need to change my life. What is there for me to do? I remember talking to someone, they said, if you want to start your own business, start with something that you have a passion for. And then I remember thinking, what do I have a passion for? And there's always been training. And I had a real passion for that. And I had some friends saying to me, Ty, like, you'd make a great personal trainer. And at that time, I was like, personal trainer? I don't want to be a trainer, because at that time, it was very much personal trainers would be people that work tonight, the Virgin Actives or the Fitness First. And like, no disrespect on that, but I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So then it came to a point where I said, if I'm gonna do a personal training thing, and I remember I started training like a lot of friends, and they was like, bro, you'd be sick. I said, I want to start my own business, and if I'm gonna do the personal training thing, it's gonna have my own company, and I want to go against the likes of the people in the Virgin Actives or the Fitness First. And then that was like literally the first time that I started thinking I'm becoming excited to go ahead and start my own business.
And is that like almost a way of, because my dad worked for himself and worked really hard and never made any money, worked, provided, and my mum couldn't work because she had like osteoarthritis. But I think for me, with how I was at school, I was pretty much unemployable. So I've kind of had to work for myself. And I think I saw my dad work really hard and then, kind of just get by through life, but certainly probably not proportionate to how hard he'd worked. And then for me, I thought I'd probably always have my own business one day as well, but I thought I really want to try and do something kind of successful and make it big. But do you think working for yourself, Ty, was more to do with, and you said you wanted to go against, the bigger gyms and the big clubs.
Yeah.
Was that kind of doing something almost against the establishment, just kind of being in control of your own destiny?
Yeah, it was, because I remember, when I was maybe like 16 or 17, like my mum was like, you need to go try and get a job. And I remember I was working in like a Waitrose, and I was stacking the shelves. Yeah, they put me in the freezer. And I was like, they put me in the freezer. I was like, I don't want to be in the freezer. And I remember I said, do you know what? I don't want to be here. And I'm just cold. And they gave me this big jacket that was like oversized. And I just felt like an idiot. And then I remember like I had an argument with the manager. And I said, like we argued. And then I said, I quit. And I left. And I remember she was always on me. Every Saturday morning, always just on me. And I was like, what's this lady's problem? And like, I just used to, like, I just didn't want to work for anyone. I just didn't want anyone, like, to sort of, like, tell me what to do, to dictate, like how to stack the shelf, It's not, I think they used to make you, like, face the product up, like, so the person could see what the product
That is a good point, to be fair. I mean, if you're going to put it on, it has got,
listen,
to face forward, so she has got a point.
It was early in the morning, man. Like, who's looking to place the product, like, 6 a.m.? They used to get me in there, like, 6 a.m. in the morning. Like, I'm like that, and like, it was crazy.
It's on the shelf, doesn't matter which way around it is, who
like,
cares?
This
is Waitrose we're talking about.
Yeah. So anyway, and after that, I just remember thinking, I'm just not a person that wants to work, like, for anyone. Not that, I think working for people is great because you can learn.
Yeah.
And learning is a massive thing. But ultimately, I just didn't want to be that person to have to work for someone. And I really wanted to just, have my own company and to be able to dictate, how to do things myself.
And Karl, was doing something for yourself important as well for similar reasons, kind of being in control of your own destiny? Because at some point, what was the light bulb moment where you think, now you're 18, you've got to get out of this life, it's going to go horribly wrong? And, I'm still trying to get my head around the transition from where you were to where you are. Yeah. And I know, we're not going to have the time to go into it thoroughly, but but what was that light bulb moment where you just thought, there must have been a pivotal point?
Do you know, I'm just curious in general. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it used to get me in a lot of trouble as well, but I'm curious. And curiosity got me thinking, you know what? Why are they paying my mother £8 an hour? Or £7 an hour, or £6 an hour? It was just a question. I'm like, she gives them her hands, her feet, her eyes, her effort, her time. And then they're not giving us enough to live, And so it was just a query with me for a long time. So I started doing some investigating. And then I realized that not everyone else is getting paid that, My neighbors might have been, but there's other people across town that's not. So then I was like, I want to be included. my thing was all about being the first and proving that it exists.
Yeah.
So for a very long time, I was actually seeking something that no one around me had actually ever attained.
I can imagine,
So,
yeah.
you know, so I didn't know whether it was real. And I think it was more just the lust for discovery that really kind of pushed me, and then the trauma of my mother. I mean, I have to reiterate that literally she worked too hard and didn't make anything happen, you know, in terms of for herself.
It's just survival.
Purely, I mean, if you can't pay the lights with it, you can't eat rice with it, then, you know, and that's all she did. So it was clock in, clock out, and I'm like, I just don't want that for myself or for her or for my children. I felt I wanted to break the cycle.
Okay.
You know, and that really pushed me. Yeah.
And then in terms of breaking the cycle, you know, what was that first point? You know, again, did you have a job? Did you do something for yourself? What was the first thing you did after you got out of that gang life?
All right, cool. So I actually, if we're going to have a frank, are we having a frank conversation?
Yeah, but we can have a frank conversation. Yep, absolutely.
Right, cool. So
We don't admit to any crimes or
I
anything,
won't,
because I will be obliged to turn you in.
It's cool, it's cool. I've got a level of immunity anyway.
Does that cover me as well? Are we all immune? Okay, fine.
Just me. So, all right.
That's what happens when you know Prince Harry, you get a level of immunity, clearly.
So literally on Tuesdays back then, they used to give out something we call JSA, which is like a job seeker allowance. I don't know if it's the same setup today. And a lot of the addicts in the area was on JSA. So like on a Tuesday, you kind of go to the job center, and then you might, if you were in that line of work, hand out some things and, you know. So if you were in that line of work, you got really kind of familiar with who was there, and they got familiar with you. So then now that if you're not in that line of work, and then you go into that same establishment, you're seeing your peers that aren't your peers, you know? So you're being recognized and all the rest of it. So I was like, oh yeah, I don't want that for one. And then secondly, in my area, I was obviously through crime, we were able to actually live a certain way, you know?
Yeah. And were people scared of you?
Were they scared of me?
Yeah.
Would anyone be scared of me?
No.
No. No. So literally, I didn't want people to then see me in terms of just shame. I felt embarrassed. You know, the fact that I had fallen so low that I have to go and sign on. So signing on wasn't an option. So my mother gave me my inheritance, which was her cleaning job, on a Monday and a Thursday night at the security firm my father worked for, which was Elizabethan Security in Stockwell. And I cleaned toilets on a Monday night and on a Thursday night for 3 hours. Got paid £108 every 2 weeks. And I did that for a little while. And while I was doing that, I just wanted to crack the code. How can I go from getting £8 an hour to more than that? And then after all of my searching, I got called to actually address at the youth inauguration for the youth mayoral-elect and all the rest of it. At the time, I was really popular in Lambeth. So they called me and said they want me to kind of speak about my reformation. So I got there, spoke about it, and then at the end, they gave me 80 quid. And I was like, wait a second, I was on stage for 4 minutes, you gave me 80 quid, I've cracked it.
I don't know that now.
I mean, so then literally from
You know you're not getting paid for this.
I know that.
Just checking.
I know that.
Yeah.
So from then I knew that
We've done the budget
it's
for that.
possible.
And that's so. And you realised again, I guess from you reading the books and I guess being pretty bright and obviously being very articulate and having this amazing story, the fact that people would pay to come and listen to you talk, and did that come in regularly? You could kind of make
Not at all. I mean, I didn't see it was far and wide.
Okay.
I didn't see another one for a very long time, maybe an eon.
Okay.
You know? And then I was very fortunate that Dame Tessa Jow, the late Dame Tessa Jow, she's a lovely lady. She is a lovely lady in memory of her. She heard me speak one day and basically said, you have to do that in every room I'm in for the next foreseeable future. And then she just took me on and then made me do it in every single room. So I started speaking alongside Ed Miliband during the riots. And then off the back of that, it just kind of just kept on going and avalanching. And,
Incredible. And again, the fact that because you've been there, people listen to it. And I guess you're just having an impact and making a difference. And I guess getting something back and being paid by the same as well, not a bad thing. I mean, incredible, really, how you can just find yourself in probably that one circumstance where one person saw you, heard you, and gave you a chance, and then it just opened up all these doors, which I think that's the hardest thing as well. When you, like you said, when you're in that doom loop and all the doors are closed, you've got to keep pushing on every door until you find the one that just opens slightly, and then absolutely kick it open, and then milk it for everything it's worth. And then Ty, so back to you. So with your PT, so you decide you become that personal trainer. Where's the yoga and that come from? Was that just something you particularly gravitated towards?
So what's crazy is, like, I remember when I was talking about that, being in that low place where there was no hope and I didn't care for the world. I remember my cousin.
That's where most of my staff are, to be honest, most of the time.
Listen, man, I know where you sort of feel.
I'm joking. They love it. They absolutely love it. We'll edit that out.
Too late, man. I saw their faces. Yeah, their faces tell a different story.
The look of sadness, it is.
But I remember my cousin came to see me and she dropped me this book. I said, go read this. And it was like a yoga book. And I was like, are you for real? Like, I tried to read it a little bit. And it started talking about like all this vinyasa terms and, you know, this Ashtanga terms. And I was like, I don't understand it. But I remember just looking at the pictures, trying to do, like, you know, the basic sun salutations. And I put it down. I said, you know, I probably spent about 5 minutes reading it. I said, no, put it down. And then it was only when I started my business and I was training this Olympic athlete, Martin Bernard, who's a high jumper. And he was basically super stiff. He wasn't flexible. And I was like, bro, you need to get flexible, man. Like, if you're going to, you know, do well, you need to get flexible. And I said, I didn't know anything about mobility training or how to even, you know, become flexible. So I was like, bro, we need to go to yoga. And he's like a 6'7", 8" black guy. He was like, bro, I'm not going to yoga. Typical stereotype of. And I was like, well, you're going to stay stiff then? He goes, I only go to yoga if you come with me. I said, you know what? Deal. So we both signed up to this like introduction yoga of like £40 unlimited classes for the month. And we went to I remember the first time we went to this hot yoga room. And it was about 40 degrees in the room. The lady shut the door. She was like, you can't leave. I had no water. I was dying. I think I was just in that Warrior 1. I thought I was going to faint. It was mad. I said, this yoga thing ain't for me.
It's ridiculous because it looks easy, doesn't it? Have you ever done it? No. No, I want to, because while we've got the benefit of the guys who are in the live audience, we've got to get some questions, I think, about some of the stuff you guys have been saying. Because actually, in terms of the starts you've had and where you've ended up, it's nothing short of inspirational, phenomenal, or whatever you'd say. But have we got any questions actually from here? From anyone who wants to ask these guys anything? Now's your chance.
Don't.
Oh, I was going to mic to you. Oh, there's no expense spared in there. It's a very professional setup.
The question is, what's next? What drives you forward from here?
Actually, good question. I actually lost my drive. I think the biggest enemy of big success is middle success. And I had middle success. You know, so it kind of, I'm kind of dramatic. It needs to be, I'm hungry, I'm suffering, you know, for me to really move. You know, so... yeah, I feel like now I've been graced with a beautiful baby boy. His name's Lion, and he definitely inspires me. So for me, what's next and what will be my duty for the rest of my life, I think, is to basically make sure that my next always caters to him in the best way. So that's whether impact and income. I think the two are married, so yeah.
You know, for me, it's carrying on to grow the business. You know, like, I've been okay to, like, I'm always hungry. Like, there's always a fire in my belly. You know, since the day one I started my business, all the way through till now, like, there's always been a fire in my belly to do more, to progress. And, like, for me, I want to really help people. So to bring people through to, you know, the same way that when I first started my business, there was people that were there to help me. I want to help other people to come through. But to grow the business, you know, I've got a family, I've got 3 kids. So to be a good role model and be responsible for them, and to always be there not the same way that I didn't have a father figure for me, you know. And just keep on inspiring people, man, and, you know, onwards and uppers, and keep on working with good people, and just to keep on growing.
Out of interest, both of you couldn't do what you were doing now. What would it be?
I'd be a gardener. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I don't really work the summertime.
That was very quick.
I'd be a gardener. No, real talk, because I remember one time, I was like, when I think it was in Waitrose, and then I remember I was going home, yeah, and I remember I just saw it was the summertime, and I saw the man, he put like a lot of joy into cutting like the leaves. And I was like, what a beautiful job he's done. He was getting a suntan, the sun was there, he was wearing a vest, like all the women were looking at him. I said, boy, I want that. I want that. I don't, forget this PET thing, you know. What's next? Gardener.
I'll definitely be doing music.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Really? I've heard your music.
Oh, wow. You love it?
Yeah. Maybe don't give up the day
I
job.
always say that Stormzy took my place. For sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely.
So
yeah, that's
if
what
you're
happened.
watching, you took my place.
We'll send him this. We will send him this. We'll get him on. So, I mean, with everything you said, so scariest thing you've ever done, both, what would it be?
I mean, I don't think you can ask a man that's used 6 of his 9 lives the scariest thing. So I really don't have the scariest. Everything has been very scary, you know. But climbing Mont Blanc was pretty scary. Attempting the Matterhorn was pretty scary. Sending my first email before, when I had no email address, no signature, no bank account, and I had to come out from the underworld into the mainstream. That was very, very scary.
Yeah,
You know, so I just don't. Yeah, I'm always scared.
Yeah,
you know.
But you know what, though, as well, I get that, because I like being scared.
Yeah.
Because if I fall into a comfort zone and you start to feel comfortable, I find that actually quite scary, because I like the fire under me as well. And I think, again, using fear and to get the most out of yourself, I think is really important. Because I think, and you know, although it's a fantastic thing to be content, and that's probably one of the nicest things anyone could ever be in life, is be content. And you should always be content with what you've got. But I think that actually just having that bit of fear there to keep doing the next thing, to keep pushing yourself, because again, if you hadn't had that fear and pushed yourselves, you both that's really what drives the change. And actually, Karl, you said something interesting about the success and big success and middle success. Tell us a bit more about that, because we people say to me all the time, "Oh, you're successful," and whatever, and then, you know, I don't consider myself successful, and then, you know, we're fortunate with other likes of Richard and whatever, you know, Mr. Branson, and again, who I don't know if he would consider himself successful, but probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
And everyone's always kind of looking to the next thing, because otherwise you stand still.
Agreed.
And I think I can't think of anything worse than standing still. Standing still is scary, because the world is moving alongside you or past you, and then you kind of get left behind. But tell us, what's middle success and big success?
My middle success for me is...
And do you consider yourself successful?
Yeah, you know, I've got that same bug where I haven't scratched the surface of what's in my mind's eye. So I would say no. You know, not to be ungrateful, but I've got positive dissatisfaction. You know, I just like, I think life's about growth, contribution. I'm hungry, I want more. You know? So, but the middle success is the fact that I'm on private jets, I'm on private islands,
Sounds horrific.
Clubs.
I was actually...
you know, it is actually when...
It's not horrific, Karl.
You know what? Because you would work really hard, let's say, and you would attain these things. And then you'll realize that obviously these things aren't a driver, because it's not adding anything to you. When you get it prior to you of kind of doing maybe that legwork or making that kind of, you know, and then you're exposed and you're like, yeah, this is not worth killing myself for.
Yeah.
You know? I'm like, no, I don't really want to, like, not see my son because of this.
Yeah.
I don't really want to, like, never be home because of this. And that was a bit of a head spin. You know, that was what I say. For me, it was a unique middle success, but yeah, that's been my,
Okay. Ty, do you consider yourself successful where you are, where you've come from?
Do you know what? I remember I was talking to this guy. I was in some meeting, and this guy, he started a patisserie. He was the CEO, I think, of Patisserie Valerie. And I remember I was telling him, and I said something, like, you know, I want to be successful. And he knows my story. And he goes, how are you trying to just say you're not successful now? And then he made me think, like, everything that I've done has been successful. You know, I've been able to change my life around, successful. You know, out of all my whole family, like, I'm the first person to ever drive a car, successful. So, hell yeah, I'm definitely successful. I come from nothing. to where I am now. So I say that I'm successful, but I always want more. I want to keep on pushing, you know. I want to keep on growing and keep on pushing. So I'm successful and I'll always be grateful. But as Karl said, we want to keep on going and we want more.
And I really want to ask you guys, both of you as well, that what's the biggest failure you think you've ever had, and what have you learned from it? And just while you think about an answer to that, I was thinking about this morning. I was thinking, actually, what's my biggest failure? And I've been kind of thinking about it on and off all day. And I think, do you know what? I failed at loads of things, but because I've learned from it, is it a failure?
Yeah.
But actually, so I thought, I can't think of one
I mean, for me,
failure.
I can't
for
answer
me.
that question because of my philosophy.
Yeah.
And my philosophy is one of the chaos theory. It's one of the butterfly effect. I believe that. You know, I believe that a butterfly flapping its wings on one side of the hemisphere could equate to a hurricane on the next. That is my genuine belief. You know, it may sound silly, but I've realized that it's weird. Whenever I'll be sat in like a cell, after I've been nicked, I'll be looking at the ceiling.
How many times were you arrested? Can you remember?
Oh, several.
So, okay,
Yeah. So I'll be looking at the ceiling and it would say, are you sick and tired of feeling sick and tired? And that's for any maybe drug users or maybe someone that swallowed drugs in order when they're in there, just to, you know? And I'll be looking at that and I'm thinking, I'm just sick and tired of being in here, yeah? But if I had gone left, maybe I would not have been in here today. And I'm like, oh, no, I shouldn't have called Marlon. If I didn't call Marlon, I wouldn't have been here today.
Yeah.
Then I was like, you know what? I actually should have actually lost my phone when I did think I lost it, but then I found it on the wall. I should have lost the phone because if I had lost the phone, I wouldn't be. And I've realized that life is a series of decisions and you don't know which decision you make and it's going to have the greatest ramification. You can't, it's not quantifiable. There's no metric for it. So for me to say which is my biggest failure, it might have been a small thing that had a huge consequence, you know? So I just can't answer that in a nutshell.
Ty, anything to add to that?
Do you know what? It's like, you guys say, I mean, I've made decisions which put me in situations which, like, you know, like I wouldn't wish upon anyone. But if I had not been through those situations, I wouldn't be like where I am now. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's that's how it is. And so I can't look at it. But I mean, I've made mistakes.
Yeah.
Mistakes, but like failures. I always say, like, even with my business, like, the only, like, you can't fail on your business until, like, you just give up and just let, you know. But if you keep on trying, if you wake up every day and say, do you know what, even if you feel like you have a down day, the next day you get up and say, do you know what, I'm going to try again. Like, you're not failing, you're progressing. You know, It's progression. So that's how I look at it.
Okay, no, awesome. I know we're running out of time, but just a couple of quick ones just from me. So,
Yeah.
most inspirational person, thing in your life right now? You might have answered this, Karl, with Lion, maybe. So he inspires you.
Sure, he inspires me.
Ty, is there one?
for
You're
me-
not allowed to say me, by the way. I know it's tempting.
No,
That'll be the first thing comes to your house. Obviously, it's me.
All right, mate, don't flat
Let's
yourself.
just assume I'm obviously the number one. But apart from me, most inspirational
No, there are
person.
many people, but do you know what? Like, for me, like my kids, you know, my 3 kids, like my lady, she holds me down. Like,
Okay, so we've got a question as well. Could we just get a mic over? We've got a mic there. Lovely question, sir.
So I did have the question you kind of just answered was you're all sort of influences in your own space. What's currently influencing you? So you sort of spoke about your family, but is there anything else that you're watching, reading, absorbing, taking in that's influencing you right now? Yeah. And if that question's already been answered, then the second one is what one truth do you believe that most people disagree with you on?
ooh, I like that last one. Say that again. What was that?
That's one truth that
What one truth do you believe that most people disagree with you on?
Do you know what it is? I feel like the fact that disadvantage is an advantage.
Okay.
I don't know whether I'm delusional and convinced myself that because I had nothing but disadvantage. My surname, my skin color, my socio-economic situation, the fact that my parents never had a burgundy book they call a passport, you know, all of these different things. You know, I don't know whether I've had to convince myself of this truth, but I genuinely believe it. I read in a book one day that when it's darkest, that's when light kind of stands out. So I'm kind of okay, like, being an outlier. You know, I feel like it helps develop patience muscles and all these next ones. So that's the supplement there. It's pain. So for me, I'm like, I genuinely believe that. And then when I try to share that with some people coming from my situation, sometimes they don't have, there's no reception for it because they're like, that's not necessarily true, but I do believe that. Yeah.
I think for me, I've got one actually in terms of your last question of what do I believe in that people would disagree with. And actually, we started Grenade with very little money, with £500. And I think it's a misconception that probably people think that to start a business, and actually you probably all agree with this, that you need a lot of money or whatever. And actually I think potentially having money to start a business, again, can be a disadvantage. Because certainly, because we had no money, we couldn't compete with what all of our competitors were doing because they had unlimited budgets to do stuff. So we got £500, so you have to really think. And if you got a lot of money, you spend it, but then you do the same that everyone else does. So I think we really had to think about what would have impact. I know, for instance, with the early sports nutrition shows, all of our competitors would give away free T-shirts. They'd give away thousands and thousands and thousands of free T-shirts. We couldn't afford to do that, so we turned up and we sold ours. And we were the only people in the actual event that sold T-shirts, and we sold out.
Dope.
And actually, a lot of the other competitors, they took T-shirts home that were given away for free. And I thought, actually, when the time that we realised that we could sell out of something and competitors couldn't give their stuff away, I thought we probably got something really special.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, do you know what? Like, one of the things I always remember is like, you see, when my mum used to always say, like, you need to go to school, get a good education. And I still hear that a lot of times now, which is, you do have to get a good education to go get a job and to go and work for a good company, which, you know, people do. And like, that was always driven in like when you're growing up. And for me, like, you know, I want to teach to my kids, if you want to do your own thing, go and just live your dream. Like, you don't have to go and get the best education and then go and work for someone. If you want to do something, to just go and live your dream and do that. So for me, that's definitely something that I'm going to implement towards my kids and show them that, you know, daddy done it, you know, even though daddy was taught a different way.
Cheers, thank you. Cool. And I think just for me as well, what would be your biggest fear? What are you most scared of?
My biggest fear is going broke. Like, because when I grew up, seriously, like having no money, like literally, like I remember like my mum used to, like, months upon months, eviction notice. Like, it's crazy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it was mad. And my mum used to like clean, and I just used to like go with her on weekends to like clean, and it was crazy. And for me to ever think about going back there is like, that's one of my biggest fears. Like,
but that's where as well, to answer that gentleman's previous question as well, with what most people would consider to be an advantage. So really that's where actually having no money is an advantage, because you learn what it's like to have no money.
Right.
So then you don't want to go back there. Whereas, again, if you inherit money, or, you know, you're born into it, you don't know what any different.
Like. Sure.
So you don't know what it's like to see the other sides. But at least if you see both sides, then you know you've got the choice. Karl, biggest fear?
Regret.
Okay.
I mean, it's the one.
What, regret doing this podcast is one thing, presumably. It's too late for that now. You're committed.
No, it's just, I feel like in life you got to pick a pain, and I feel like regret is the most painful. So obviously we fear what is painful, and I just don't want to be stuck with regret. I'd rather undergo the pain of discipline than to live with the pain of regret. I can't handle regret. I hate thinking I should have moved. So it's kind of similar to your standing still. I can't think that my days you should have done that 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Because it would just hurt too much, especially if the door has closed.
Yeah.
You know, and there are seasonal doors. So yeah.
Again, I'd much rather do something and fail and have done it than have the regret of not doing it. Yeah, totally. No, completely agree.
It was just a quick one. Karl, you mentioned about reading a lot.
Yeah.
For me, I believe that the key to personal growth is through reading and learning. So, what book would you say has had like the biggest impact on your life?
Wow.
Can be the Thai as well. Obviously, it's not going to be that yoga book, but it could be a different one.
I think it's almost the first two I read during that season, which was first How I Lost My Virginity, Richard Branson.
The same for me. You've stolen my answer.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And then Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. Those two books really affected me in a deep way.
For me, do you know what? I remember like when I was going into my trying to start my own business, one guy was like, read this book, Think and Grow Rich. And yeah, I read that book and it just changed my whole mindset. Like just thinking on those levels and understanding and learning. But yeah, it's definitely, you know, the thing is, yeah, what's crazy is that when I was growing up, like I couldn't even really read like properly. So it took a lot of time for me to break things down. So I'd have to read a page, digest it, go back and read the page again. And like it would take me like an average time for someone to read a book quickly. It would take like half a year to properly understand what it was. But it changed my life, like seriously. So yeah, definitely read that book.
Yeah, I've got a question for Karl. If you could go back and do life differently or not do that part of your life when you were in the gangs, would you? Like, if you could? Or, like, would you have changed anything? Or do you think it has moulded you to who you are today? I know it's a bit of a fairy question because obviously it's not going to happen, but would you?
I don't want to sound like not a nice person and say, no, I won't change anything. But again, with my philosophy currently is I do believe if you move certain elements, it's almost like Jenga, you know, and I don't, at risk of the rest of it falling, I don't want to remove a piece, but absolutely I have friends that are not here today, you know, and I would love to just, like I said on my Instagram post when I was celebrating my 30th last month, I'm getting old now. So I was celebrating my 30th and then I went to Paris and I was just with some mates and I said I've lived tiny times 2, you know, because my friend died when we were 15 and I'm just thinking, so I would love to have him back, but his death has been a fuel for me, quite literally. I remember one day I was doing a climb up to Verbier on the bike. And I mean, I had done no hill climbing and I was the biggest guy in the Lycra. And I'm just there trying to get it done. And I am dying. It feels like my heart's going to jump out my chest. And then I stopped. And then I thought, my days. Righty don't have a body. Alex don't have a body. I have a body. I'm going to use mine. And I started to play tricks with my mind. And I said that my pedaling is his heart beating. So I said, don't stop. Otherwise he dies, even though I know he's dead. You know, so I wouldn't have had that. I wouldn't have got up, you know, so I don't know. But so, yeah.
I don't think you should change a thing. And I tell you what, guys, we're out of time, but you guys have been absolutely stunning, really inspirational. So everyone, thank them for that. That's brilliant. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I've been Alan Barratt with Pull the Pin, and this week we've been pulling the pin on failure with 2 amazing guests, Tyrone Brennand and Karl Lokko. So thanks for tuning in, and remember to subscribe on Spotify and iTunes and all of the channels. Thanks for listening.
No problem, thanks.